Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Wayne's World of Science and Technologies. And today, I'm going to pass along to you a headache. This is what you call Excedrin headache number 47. At least that's what we called it when they used to do those commercials. And yeah, it's named 47 after a certain stable genius. Okay, the problem is that the United States has become totally unreliable. We have seen the Secretary of Defense sharing stuff through Signal, which is not exactly what you'd call secure. Yeah, it might keep your wife out if you're trying to meet with your girlfriend, or your husband out if you're trying to meet with your boyfriend, but that's basically about all it's good for. We've had them basically shove some guy off in a prison in El Salvador, even though they were ordered not to do it. And then when they ordered to bring him back, the response was, "Nah, you can't make us," which is really, really, really adult. So, we have a government that doesn't mind using pressure to get what it wants, doesn't really give a hoot what anybody thinks, and is willing to stomp all over anything they don't like, including sending people who have maybe said something negative about their support of Israel, but who want to visit the U.S., home. Basically saying, okay, fine, we're not letting you off. You got off the plane, but we're sending you right back. Well, after you spend a week in a gulag, but minor details. So, we're running into a huge issue. If the U.S. can't be trusted, anything that is web-based that has anything to do with the U.S. can also not be trusted. Now, for a lot of people, this isn't going to matter. If you're just using Facebook to keep in touch with your old fishing buddies, it's not going to impact you that much. But if, say, you're a nonprofit dealing with something that the Trump government considers controversial or that they don't like, they could decide to lean on your hosting service or your social media site or your video sharing service or your science publishing site or software companies. I mean, the list of the things they could lean on is endless. If you rely on those and you are at all possibly in a position that the United States might not like what you're doing, like, okay, just say, for example, you're advocating cleaning up pollution. I take it that everybody knows that Trump has ordered the EPA to sunset every single environmental regulation. I'm sure this is going to go well. Really well. So, we have a problem. If you have a website, and I'm going to start off with websites first, even though it's not the first on the list. If you have a website and you're somebody like the EFF, who quite often fights the government, you may have a problem. They may decide to talk to your web hosting service and tell them that they don't like this. Okay, admittedly, you're not going to have a really super hard time finding another web hosting service, but you might have problems getting your data from your old supplier, of course, and there's all sorts of possible issues in there. Among other things, if you have a website hosted in the United States, I'm recommending immediately that you back the thing up in your home country, in a place that is safe, where no one else can get to it. And you keep on doing this on a regular basis over the next little while until things play out, or until you move to a place where they aren't likely to bother you. Now, for web hosting, I did a bit of looking. When I said I did a bit of looking, I looked at there's a couple places that were easy to check than others. Canada and the EU. In Canada, web hosting is still relatively safe. I say relatively safe. I cannot see the Canadian government bending to Donald Trump. Not at the present time. It would not look good, and most of Canada is so bloody furious right now that, well, how much should I put it? Wayne Gretzky used to be a national hero. Now he's a national pariah. Another place to host is the EU. Most EU countries are relatively good that way. Now, there are certain EU countries like Hungary and Serbia that I'd avoid, and the United Kingdom is not safe for web hosting at the current time. But France and Germany, yeah, they are. Denmark, Norway, Sweden, well, okay, Norway's not in the EU, but they're close enough. Switzerland, I believe, is safe. There's a lot of options over there. Now, if you're a social media site, you also might want to consider moving. If you're not hosted in the United States and your headquarters is in the United States government can't lean on you. For smaller social media sites, this could be really, really important. I mean, let's face it, Facebook has money. They can fight the government in court if they have to. They might not want to. They might just say, oh, hey, we'll give you a deal if you give us one. But they've got money. They can do things. A site like Blue Sky, on the other hand, doesn't have money. And to the best of my knowledge, Blue Sky is hosted in the United States. So there's a big issue. Video sharing services. Now, you may have noticed I do a fair bit of YouTube stuff. I actually do have a Rumble account, though I really need to check and make sure it's actually still active. I'm not good at stuff like that. The problem is that YouTube is hosted in the United States. If Donald Trump decides that he doesn't like your criticism of Israel, it's quite possible your videos might get downvoted like you wouldn't believe by the system, not by humans. If you quote post stuff that is positive about immigration, it's quite possible that your videos might be binned. I mean, the amount of pressure that can be placed on these companies is absolutely terrifying. Then you've got code hosting sites like GitHub. If a code hosting site is in the United States and the United States government decides, oh, gee, you've got code here for how to make a VPN, get rid of it, you're screwed. I would again suggest moving anything that could possibly have any impact or that could possibly draw any fire from the United States government to hell out of the United States as fast as possible. Now, we got major science publishers. Oh, by the way, these are a list of questions that I asked an AI. I'm going to go through the list after and give it to you after I've actually checked to make sure it's accurate. But in other words, I don't trust AIs. They do a good job most of the time, but they can go berserko. So you've got science publishers. If, for example, you're publishing something on vaccines. Oh, geez, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. doesn't think that vaccines are a good thing. He might try and block the publication. Oops. Yeah. And yes, I think they are actually getting that childish. No insult to children. Major software companies. A lot of major software companies are hosted in the United States. This means it could be quite possible that the government could require them to stick in a back door. Now, I'm not saying this couldn't happen in other countries as well. What I'm saying is that the United States, because the government is so out of control at the present time, this is far more likely. Again, with search engines, the host country can control the search engine and its results. The search engine is what gives you information. Oops. Unfortunately, the two biggest search engines, Bing and Google, are both hosted in the United States. Again, I'm doing research on this. I will be coming up with a list of alternatives, which I will be publishing, and believe me, it is bloody huge. It's going to take a while. There's email hosting. If you are doing something that is what the government might consider off. You might want to move your email hosting to an email hosting company that isn't in the United States. If you're posting gamer content or recipes or quilt making, like the quilt my ex-wife made, or anything like that, you're fine. But if it gets into stuff that they might not like, you might be in trouble. Ebook sellers, same thing. If the ebook seller is in the United States, hint Amazon, hint, it is quite possible that Trump could turn around and say, oh, hey, Bezos, I want you to down that book so it doesn't show up in any search results. Sure, looks like you upload the book and it's out there and it's all that, but nobody's going to buy it because they ain't going to know it exists. List of podcast sites by host country. Again, podcasts. If a podcast host gets into areas that the government might not like, it is possible that in the United States at the present time that pressure could be brought on the podcast company to dump them. Now, I'm not saying it has been done. I'm just saying that at the current time, I'm bloody worried. Okay? You probably figured that out by now. Same with blog hosts. If a blog host is in the United States and the government decides it doesn't like your messages, boom. And this has happened in other countries, specifically China. It happens a lot, where something will go viral on their social media blog post, and all of a sudden it'll get disappeared for some reason. Wonder why. I don't think the Chinese Communist Party would have anything to do with it. I listed free software projects twice because the first answer I didn't like it. And then there's instant messaging software, like Signal, like Telegram, like Microsoft Messenger, or whatever the heck it's called these days. I don't know. I don't use it myself. The point is that every instant messaging software that is country hosted is liable to interference. Now, as I said at the start, I know this is all going to sound like the ravings of a paranoid maniac. And quite frankly, I never ever thought that I would actually be saying stuff like this. But things have changed. And they've changed in a way that is really unhealthy, and that to me looks extremely dangerous for anybody caring about freedom. If you give a damn about freedom of speech, you care about this. This isn't Pete Higgs' fake freedom of speech thing where he was talking to Germany saying you should allow Nazis to post. No, this is a case of, how should I put it? There's a difference between allowing hate-filled posts and allowing posts about scientific interests, posts about cultural interests, posts about political interests. I mean, the vast majority of them are fine, but they have the ability to interfere if they don't like right now, and we cannot abide that. Anyway, I hope you all have listened to this. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel as well. I'm trying to be the slowest growing channel to reach 1 million subscribers. And if you actually get this far, type 1 million in the comments section so I know it. And have a good day, folks. Bye-bye.